Hello, Merry Hearts friends. Today's story is called Wiggling Worms at Work because it's springtime, and when I take my shovel and I dig it into the dirt in the garden, especially in the greenhouses where the dirt is a little bit warmer, I'm finding lots of worms. Here's lots of worms on these 2 pages. Another worm. Wiggling worms at work. This shows a picture of a worm closer up. It has some sections to its body. Can you count them? 1, count with me. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's a little one, 7, and even at the very end, that might be maybe the worm's mouth. I'm not sure. Let's find out. Down in the ground, under your feet, thousands of worms wiggle around flower bulbs and tunnel under trees. They twist and turn, eating almost anything in their way. These wiggling worms are at work. What do you see there? That's right, a red boot. And here's a plant. You can see the top part that grows above the ground and the bottom part of the plant that grows under the ground. What part of the plant is that called? That's right, the roots. Yeah. And that's where the worms are, aren't they? Let's count the worms in this picture too. 1, 2. That's tricky. Is this a different worm or is this worm part of this worm? Look at that. Looks like part of it might be under or behind the dirt there. Let's count this as 1 worm. Let's start over. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 worms, twisting and turning. Farmers plow their fields to loosen the soil. Crumbly soil lets the roots of plants spread out and grow. Worms also loosen the soil as they wiggle along. They are called nature's plows. You see this plow that's being pulled behind a tractor? Yeah, in Montana where we live, we see farmers on their tractors pulling plows through the fields this time of year. They're loosening up the soil and making it crumbly. But did you know that worms also do that? Pretty neat, huh? As worms twist and turn, they push aside loose soil. This creates tunnels. Air flows along these tunnels. Rainwater trickles down. Roots drink it up. And moist ground helps plants grow better. As worms twist and turn, they create tunnels. Do you like to play in tunnels? Maybe there is a place at a park that has a little tunnel that you can go in, just like a little worm. I wonder if next time you go there you can crawl through that tunnel, just like a worm. Worms tunnel in soil that is hard packed. That means soil that's hard to get a shovel in. Not loose, it's hard. And they can still tunnel through that by swallowing it. The soil goes in the worm's mouth, slides into the worm's crop, that's a special part of its throat, then passes down to another part of the worm's throat called the gizzard. Worms have a mouth. Do you have a mouth? Yes, of course. Worms do too. Do you have a crop? I don't think so. I don't think people have crops. Do you have a gizzard? No, I don't think so. I don't think people have gizzards, but I know chickens do. So worms and chickens have something in common. Crops and gizzards. Do you eat dirt like a worm? No, of course not. Worms eat dirt though, don't they? Worms do not have teeth. They have muscles and very fine, tiny grains of sand and even small stones in their gizzard grinds the soil up. Yeah, so they don't need teeth, do they? They use the sand and the stones and muscles to grind up their food. Worms digest leaf bits and plant bits that are found in the soil, just like you digest a salad. And what's left passes all the way through a worm's body and comes out its tail end in the form of pellets. Maybe these are the pellets. These are called worm castings. These castings make good plant food. They help fruits and vegetables grow bigger and better. Worm castings. Sometimes worms crawl above the ground. When they tunnel back down into the ground, they pull dead leaves and plants down with them. These plants make the soil better as they rot. And seeds come down too. Some of these seeds send out roots. Then they sprout. Do you see a seed here? Yeah, there's a little seed with some roots coming down and a sprout coming up. Seedlings sprout. Worms help new plants begin to grow. What helpers worms are. Maybe they can plant our gardens for us. Be nice. Thanks, worms. Worms can wiggle, twist, turn, and even tie themselves in knots because they don't have any backbones. Their soft bodies are made of rings or segments. We called them sections before, I think segments. There's many segments on this worm, aren't there? Do you think there's too many to count? Some of you say yes, some of you say no. Well, let's give it a try. Sometimes we don't know if we can do something until we try. Let's try. 1, count with me. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're about halfway there, aren't we? 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and one last little spot on the end will count as 35. We did it. We counted 35 segments of that worm. Their soft bodies act like the coils on a slinky toy. They let a worm bend. A worm has no legs, but it does have 8 bristles under each segment that act a little like legs. They help a worm move. And worms have strong muscles, so they can stretch out their front end and become long and thin. Then the worm fastens its front bristles into the soil, and the back end sleeks up, making the worm short and fat. Have you seen a worm do that before? Crawl along just like that. I guess it's not crawling, it's slinking along, isn't it? We could call it slinking along.